Here we go. I started recording the second part of the lesson. I'll share my screen. Should I share my screen? I'm not going to share my screen because I don't have any animations for you. There are a lot of things that you can find online for this, but I think that the best way to explain it is by looking at me because it will get very complicated. This is what happened is actually the most the, the most chaotic bar fight in history. So I have to explain. So pay attention. We're talking about the year 1788. I'm not very good at math, so I don't know when that was. 300 years ago, right? 200 or 300 years ago?
200 in the 18th century. The tail end
I'm
of
not good
it.
at math either, teacher.
Whatever.
Yes, 200.
So a long time ago. Not that ago. Not that long ago. So 1788, there was a fight between Austria and the Turkish Ottomans, the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire. So the Austrian Empire is over here, you can see it, and the Austrian and the Ottoman Empire is here. So they were fighting on several fronts, battlefields, but what happened one night, I think it was the 22nd of September, it doesn't really matter, will go down in history as one of the craziest bar fights, as I said. So when, what should I use to draw? I'll use my hand to make it more interesting for you. You'll never forget it. So this is happening in somewhere in the region of Romania, next to the city. Fusina came. I know she was very interested. So hello, welcome back, Fusina. We were waiting for you. So Austria fighting the Ottoman Empire. However, what you need to know is that the Austrian army wasn't didn't only consist of Austrians. There were all sorts of people there. There were Serbs, there were Croats, there were all, as I said, Bulgarian people, perhaps, all sorts of people. And the idea is that they didn't really speak German, because in Austria they speak German. So they were part of the same army, but didn't speak the same language. I think Daria knows what's going to happen in this story, or is she? Maybe she just tired. So, one time near the city of what was the name? Karansebes, probably that's the pronunciation. They were different troops of the Austrian Empire. So there was one over here, there was one over here, and there was one over here, because they were guarding the territory. And the Ottoman Empire was supposed to come from over here, where my thumb is. Okay? So they were very organized, and at the vanguard, the first soldiers that would go scouting were cavalrymen. So they would ride horses, and they were scouts. So what they did, the people riding horses, went over here on their horses, and they were expecting to find the Ottomans, the Turks, but they didn't find them over there. What they found was some Romani people, gypsies, we call them. It's not okay to call them. The politically correct term is Romani people. So when they saw them, they're like, hey, what are you doing here? And they're saying, well, we're drinking some schnapps. Schnapps is the German rakia, alcohol. So they were drinking alcohol. And they're like, would you like some? And they said, yes, sure. And these people, the gypsies, gave them all the schnapps they had, all the alcohol. So the cavalrymen, the hussars, that's the name, they got so drunk that they started making a ruckus. They were yelling, they were dancing, they were doing all sorts of things. And a second group of the Austrian army, the infantrymen. Infantrymen are just people who walk. They don't ride horses, they just walk. So they followed them to see what's going on. And they saw that these people were yelling. And when they went there, they saw that they're part of the same army because of the clothes, I suppose. And they said, hey, what are you doing? You're drinking schnapps. We want some schnapps as well. But the cavalrymen, who were already drunk, were like, no, it's ours and we won't share it with you. So they started arguing and they started fighting. And it got so bad that they started hiding behind the barrels full of alcohol, and they started shooting at each other. And at one point, they shot one of the infantrymen. When that happened, everyone started panicking, and one of the people started yelling. So the infantrymen over here started yelling, Turci, Turci, which means Turks, Turks. And they were the Croatian guys, for example. And when these people, the cavalrymen, heard that, they thought that the Turks were behind them over here. And they started, it's amazing. You wouldn't believe, if you saw this in a movie, you wouldn't believe it. It's so far-fetched. So when they heard that, they got so afraid that they mounted their horses again, and they started going back to their camp. The camp was over here. When they started, when they started going back to the camp, these people who were already in the camp sleeping because it was at night, they heard the gunshots, and they thought that something was going on. They thought that they were being invaded. The cavalrymen, because they knew that they were going to their home base, to their camp, they didn't even stop. They ran full charge into the camp. And this is where it gets interesting. The officers who were at the top of the ranking, who were German, started saying, halt, halt. Halt in German means stop. Now, what these people didn't know was, obviously they didn't speak German. So what they thought that the officer was saying was Allah. They thought that instead of halt, they were saying Allah, Allah. So they thought that actually the Turkish people are invading them. So when they went in the camp, they started shooting at each other. They opened friendly fire, and almost everyone died. Everyone, imagine just sleeping in your tent, you hear that, you wake up, someone's shooting, you don't know what's going on, and you start shooting at everything you see. So they started shooting at every shadow, basically. And when that happened, some people started running away. And the commander of the army actually started running away on his horse, and he fell in a gorge. He fell down from a cliff, he died. In the camp, they forgot a chest full of gold, which was supposed to be used to pay the troops. And that was left over there. So 2 days after the incident, the Turks come and they see that everyone's dead, and they just take over the city, and they won the war by doing that. Can you imagine that? So one more time, very quickly. People from the Austrian army scouting. It was comprised of different sorts of people, different nationalities, not just people got drunk over here. They started fighting about that. They couldn't understand what they were saying. The officers were saying halt, halt. These people thought that they were saying Allah, Allah. They thought they were Turks. So they started shooting each other. Everyone died. The Turks won the war. Did they make a mistake?
Yes.
What do you think? What do you think? Are we done?
That's such a mistake.
This is just a victory. This is just a jackpot for them, like jackpot. Like
This is just a free victory.
This is such
Exactly.
a
They don't
dumb
have
thing
minds.
to do. It was actually a series of mistakes. So first of all, accepting the alcohol was a mistake. Then the miscommunication because they didn't speak the same language, bad planning, disorganization, people couldn't understand each other. So a series of terrible mistakes which had severe consequences. They lost a chest full of gold, which was supposed to fund the whole war. So when the Turks
They
came,
lost their lives.
not only did the Turks come and find the gold, they also took over the city of Karansebes. Sarah, sorry I interrupted you. Sarah?
They didn't only lose money, they lost their lives.
Everything. They lost everything.
I mean,
their commander, he fell from a cliff.
I mean,
you know, teacher, he just really said it. You can talk.
Yes, proceed.
No, you can.
No, you.
Okay, then let me. So those two examples. There are other examples as well. For example, I said example 3 times in the same sentence. Don't do that. It's lazy and it doesn't sound right. But I'm exhausted. It's Friday after all. It's not the only thing. There are examples that there are different articles that you can find on the website if you're interested in finding more about epic fails. One of them was, for example, when Napoleon invaded Russia. He took 150,000 people to Russia because he thought that he was going to win. And they had carriages with food and gold and everything they needed. But what he forgot was that roads in Russia at that time were terrible. So they couldn't actually drive the carriages up the road. So they had to leave them. A lot of people froze to death. They thought that the Russians would come and fight them. The Russians just retreated. They were safe. They weren't cold. Everyone died in the French army.
Wow.
They lost the war. It's terrible. Now, what I would like to do for the last 10 minutes is talk about everyday mistakes, because obviously we haven't been in a position where we lose a war, but we do dumb stuff intentionally or unintentionally that could have an effect on someone else. So I would like to, I'll ask specific people, all right, because otherwise it gets chaotic and it's very difficult for us to hear each other. Uh, would you consider this a mistake? Eyebrows.
I know the picture.
I know.
Is,
God!
imagine you come home from school and you see your little brother, your little sister has drawn eyebrows on your pet. Is that a mistake?
A big one.
Yes.
A
Why is
big-
it a big mistake?
I mean, look at that one. Awesome dogs with human eyebrows.
Teacher.
And that one is just chilling.
Teacher,
Yes, Adele.
actually, I don't think my brother would even be able to put eyebrows on my dogs.
Never mind.
Let's
Let's just accept
progressive.
it. Let's just accept it as a fact. Would you consider this a mistake?
A big one, yes.
How is it a big
Yes.
mistake?
Terrifying. As soon as I came,
Teacher,
teacher, like here, imagine
would
there's a
you-
door here. I come in, I see my dog, like my dog and my brother.
Yeah.
I just close the door and leave.
It's not a big
You know-
mistake. No one died. No one
No one
suffered.
died. It's just
What I'm saying
terrifying.
is that
No
if
one
the
di-
dog is right, and the brother or the kid or whatever the thing is,
Mm.
drew some eyebrows on the dog,
Yeah.
that would be really hard to get off.
Genuinely,
That
it
is
is.
a giant.
It's
Teacher.
good, but is it really a mistake?
Teacher, nobody died.
Sorta.
Please,
Sarah?
pause,
What am I
pause, teacher.
saying?
I'll
If my
mute you
brother
all.
did that,
Listen, pay
and
attention. No, it
I
was
saw
Sarah's
him,
turn. Let Sarah say
it
what she
will
was
cost
saying.
a lot.
Sarah.
Yeah. Teacher, nobody dies until the Sharpie chemically gets in the dog's eye and dog goes blind.
Okay, yeah, that's a different situation.
Yeah.
According to the signal detection theory, that's a different situation. Now, have you ever pocket dialed anyone? While your phone is in your pocket, it just keeps calling someone.
Yes.
Yes, and I feel bad for
Is it a
how many
mistake?
people that has happened to. I mean, no one died. Actually, just waste someone's time probably, but depends on what they're doing. Because maybe they were really busy. Maybe they were like,
I think it really depends on the situation. Adele, imagine
Exactly.
that you're in your bed, you're sleeping, and someone keeps bugging you, just calling you all the time, pocket dialing you, and you can't fall asleep. It's a mistake. My point is that if you ever do something that affects another person in a negative way, then it is a mistake. If you do something that's isolated to you, then actually there is no such thing, because you may think that it affects only you, but it's not the case. Like, let me give you another example. Like not studying for an exam and you get a 1, that's a mistake. Not studying for an exam and getting a 1 is a mistake. It doesn't affect only you. You can go, well, it's my life, I'll do what I want to do. No, you cannot do that, because when you go home and you tell your parents that you got a 1, they'll brood on it. They'll be like, where did we go wrong? Do we not pay enough attention to our child? Maybe we don't communicate well, and maybe they will start fighting. They'll be like, no, you don't pay attention, I pay attention, you don't. So you might get your parents into a fight just because you didn't study for the exam. So something that may seem insignificant might snowball in the future, further along the way. Would you agree with that?
I
Yeah.
that if you get a 1, that's a complete failure, not a
Yeah,
mistake.
It's not. It's a failure and a mistake
Mistake is that
at the
you
same
in the
didn't
same
moment.
study.
time.
At the same time, yes. Okay. What about this? Sleep calling or texting? I think that it is a mistake. Imagine you're just you want to go to bed, and before going to bed, you're just browsing the internet, and you fall asleep. It falls on your forehead, bumps your face, and
I have a story. I have
It's a message.
a really good story about this.
imagine this. No.
No.
Imagine this. There, I have to interrupt you. I apologize. So imagine you're doing that. You're exhausted. Your phone falls on your face, and you accidentally send me a message at midnight. Isn't that going to be a mistake? I
That is
just
bad.
see a message from, I don't know, Doncho, for example.
Teacher,
That there is a
Teacher.
there is a
Teacher,
message.
I have a story that's actually happened to me.
I would delete
So
the moment.
I
I
was
said-
just like, it was not that. It was like
need to
At
say
least-
sorry.
1 a.m. or something. You know, I was just browsing on the internet, and then I was just getting random DMs from Fiona, and like she fell asleep on her keyboard while Viber was open. So it just kept on spamming me random letters, and then when she woke up at like 1 p.m. or something, she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Adi. I'm sorry. I fell asleep on my lap. Adi, I'm sorry." And I was there like
I
laughing.
get that. Someone in the group said that you would delete it. Now you have that option. Yes, you can unsend an email, a message on Messenger, whatever. Once, when I was second year high school, I had a huge crush on a girl. Really, really. I don't think she was really good looking, but she was quite cool. And I was talking to a friend of mine. This is an actual story. So I was talking about a friend of mine, and I was talking about this girl. I'm not going to mention her name, obviously. And I was saying like, wow, she's the best. I really like her, and just saying random stuff. And because I was thinking about
Teacher,
her,
do not tell me you pocket dialed her while you
my
were talking.
unconscious, no, I had my phone I wrote a text message, and because I was thinking about her at the back of my head, at the unconscious mind was doing that. Instead of sending it to him, I sent it to her. And this I swear to God, this is what happened. And at that time, when I was
I'm
second year high school, I couldn't really unsend it, so it was over. And now she knew. It
Switch
was
schools.
weird. My point is that it could.
Switch lives at this point.
Exactly.
Like,
Ruined back then. Your life is ruined.
it was. Yeah, she didn't want to talk to me anymore. Never mind.
Oh, that's just
Uh,
mean.
Closing without saving. This is something that happens regularly before an exam. Imagine you're working on a presentation or project. You don't save, you just close it, or the electricity goes down. This is a mistake that can be countered by saving every 5 minutes. That's something I've started doing. So coming to phishing. Phishing is trying to. Okay, let me do a small test.
my God.
We studied about phishing last year with the 7th graders.
Teacher, we finished.
I know we're finished. You can go. I just need 2 or 3 more minutes. So phishing is when you're trying to find out someone's personal data in order for you to use it to your advantage. In other words, trying to find out someone's credit card and data so you can do that. Insecure passwords, turns out that we never learn our lesson. For example, I think that the most common password is actually password because people are lazy to change it. They don't personalize it. This is a mistake that could be an everyday mistake, but it could turn into a big one. Imagine, I don't know, you 5th graders or 6th graders. There's nothing that you hide, guys, right? Even if someone hacks your email, what will they find? Projects. They won't be interested in that. But imagine if, I don't know, if the president's email gets hacked and they send all sorts of information to the media. That would be a big mistake. So again, it has to do with the signal detection theory, not backing up. And the last thing that we'll do for today is this. I'll ask specific people. Let me ask, Daria, I'll ask you again. If a friend of yours was overspending, would you talk to them? Would you try to help them in that regard?
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't I? She's my
Would
friend.
it have a positive outcome?
I hope so. I mean, they would probably take it personally at first, but if I explain, I feel like they would understand that I'm trying to help.
Wouldn't most people your age go like, "Who are you to tell me what to do?"
Teacher, it really
No,
depends on the
teacher.
person.
Yeah, it depends on the person
Depends on
actually.
yeah, and
I
how
wouldn't go to my friend that I'm not really close with, and I'll be like, "Oh, you're spending too much money,"
Okay. What
or
about
I don't know.
Sarah? This question is for you. What about if this person was under saving? If they're just if they're not saving enough money?
Bad for them. Okay.
No, I'm asking Sarah. Sarah, what would you talk to them? Would you offer help, advice?
Yeah, I would, but it really depends on the person. Because sometimes if it's just not we're not really that close, they can take it really personal.
What about this one? Poor diet. If someone eats fast food every day, would you talk to them? Would you actually have them sit and just say, have a serious conversation like, "What are you doing? This is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. It will affect your
Yes.
health. You'll die." Do you do that? Would you
Yes.
do that to a friend?
Depends on the person, again.
really, teacher. I wouldn't really tell them you're gonna die, but
Yeah, that's over.
You do you, man.
You have to scare them.
Nobody's gonna like you.
What about this one? Marco, are you here?
Yes, teacher, I'm here.
I apologize for interrupting you earlier. It's a bit difficult for me to keep track of everything. What about reckless driving? If a friend of yours was a reckless driver, driving very fast, not being careful, would you talk to them?
How do you mean would you talk to them? Like, would I
Like-
tell them that's not right, or will I
Yes,
like just
yes,
continue?
yes, yes.
Yes, of course I will do it because like he's my friend and I worry about him. So
And what about this
the
one,
most
Marco?
normal, yes. So the most natural thing to do in that case is to tell them that it's not right what they're doing. So because sometimes you have to admit it.
What about this one?
Teacher,
Procrastination.
the word that right now is my life explained in one word.
Same, unfortunately. I mean, I'm a teacher. I have to tell you that you should do everything on time, but I'm a major procrastinator. It's not nice though. Seriously, don't do it. So if someone just keeps delaying their what they're supposed to do, if you have homework and you're like, I'll just do it tonight, and tonight comes and you say, well, I'm exhausted, I'll go to bed, I'll do it early in the morning. Early in the morning, you're saying, well, I'm sleepy, I won't do it now, I'll do it in the afternoon. In the afternoon, your dog has new eyebrows, so you say, no, I can't do it. So is procrastination a serious thing? Is it a mistake?
Yes.
Well, it is a mistake. It can be serious, depends on the context. So
Which one would you find as the most serious out of the six?
After what?
Out of these six,
Reckless driving, it can kill you more than a poor
reckless
diet.
driving, I would go for like I think this
I
reckless driving
think
is
that
more
the
dangerous.
driving and
reckless driving.
Driving is really dangerous
Procrastination too.
I don't know.
if you don't know how to do it.
Okay.
Every mistake is bad.
Even overspending could be a terrible mistake. Imagine that I like spending 500 euros a day and I don't have that money. I will soon have to face my problem and so sell the house just so I can buy flip-flops or something. I think that people should be told that they're making a mistake. So let me just...
Yeah, but you can die from
Yeah, but you
driving.
can die from not
Yes.
having a house.
Yes, but teacher,
You can live.
I mean, you could
if
go
he's
to
a
an
friend,
orphanage or
you will
something.
you will help him. So it's not really like it's
Why
like
would you tell a house?
because teacher or the one with the where he spends too much money and for example he doesn't have a house anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's not directly strictly at the same moment like life or death because for example the reckless driving is you can't choose if you have a friend to save you when you're a reckless driver.
It makes sense.
Well, if you don't have a home, someone can help you.
It's a more long-term process. Something could be done
You don't
about
have a
it
choice.
further along. Yeah. Okay, so let me just summarize what we talked about today. So we started with the signal detection theory. We talked about the sound of a clunk in the engine, and then we continued with this table where a person winks at you. And I explained that the more information you have, the more difficult and complex your decision making is. Like the situation with the army. If you're a sentry on a watchtower or a security guard during wartime, you will be more suspicious and it will affect your decision. Then I talked about the mistakes that the Trojans did by accepting the horse, whether it was a mistake or not. That's up to you to decide. That's for you to decide. And I talked about the mess at the Battle of Karansebes, which was an epic fail. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
saving grace there. You can't find a single positive thing there.
Victory. Here you come.
Yep. And then we finished with by discussing the everyday mistakes, which, although they may not have the consequences that they have are not that severe, it depends on the context, as you guys said. So next time, I'll continue with a different subject. Next time, I think I'll start with science and technology, or maybe the literature and media. Maybe we'll talk about movies and poetry. I'll see how I feel. Right. So that's about it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for attending the lesson. I always appreciate it when people make the effort of attending on Friday at 2 o'clock. But now you have the whole weekend in front of you. Go study.
Study? No.
Go have some
We
rest.
have a test
Teacher, I have a tournament
Monday
this
and
weekend.
Teacher, I
English.
really have anything to do, so like.
Nicola, by the way, good luck with the competition. I hope that you'll do well, and I hope this lesson didn't interfere with
I
your
don't know what
plan.
I'm gonna be focused on for the next hour. Trying to
We
find
need to join
teammates.
again, like us 5A.
What?
Like,
How do you not have
uh,
teammates? I feel bad
class
for you.
or
Who doesn't have a
class.
teammate?
Me,
I
teacher,
think-
I
yeah.
DM'd you last time.
All right.
I don't have.
Oh, teacher, I don't really
I
have
don't.
exactly a
Teacher,
team,
do we need to
because
join
most-
next Friday again with this ID?
We'll talk.
or-
We'll talk with teacher Tsetanka. But this is my ID. I have lessons every Friday at this time. So anytime you want to join, you can join. It's fine. Marco, what do you mean you don't have a team? I thought you.
Well, I
were
had
in-
a team, but now like the team, yeah, they are good, and they're like I was with Victor and Koki, but they are good, and now they're in separate teams, and they're both inviting me. So,
Oh, that's just sad.
Okay, Marco, I'll talk to you later. All right.
all right. And also,
Marco,
teacher, I almost
Marco,
forgot.
Adea
I
over
have
here
one
is an
thing to tell
amazing
you.
teammate. Why don't you
Thank you.
make a team with
I
her?
still have Dea's number in Ravza's, by the way.
Okay, we'll
from
fix
the
it.
owl.
We'll fix it.
Teacher,
I'll take
also
care
one
of it.
thing, I would like to tell you that this is for another subject, but when we went to Olympia, they still haven't sent me the certificate.